Hey, honey?
Yeah, what's up?
Hey everybody, I'm Fen. This is Retro Review, a review show where we go through my copious amounts of gaming books, magazines, and other paraphernalia one at a time. And to keep me from rambling like I did last week, we have Laura. You gotta do a better job this week than last week. I know that episode was long.
It was long, but it was interesting. Okay. Yeah, so hi everybody. Gonna try and keep us on track by going through these questions. I'm gonna try and stop you when you get in rambling. Okay, so what have we got tonight?
Dragon Magazine, number 299. This is the Knights and Paladin themed issue.
And is this part of the subscription?
Yep. Yeah, this is, subscribed for the magazine for a while. Was doing my weekly D&D game Umpy on Thursday nights, so was doing my part to make sure we had all the fresh, new, up-to-date stuff that we could play with at the gaming table.
Okay. So do you want to give us a quick synopsis of what's inside?
Yep. Article number 1 to talk about is Up on a Soapbox. It's Gary Gygax's column. Tells the tale of how his character Mordecai set up a fake caravan to trap and hunt down bandits in order to raise funds to outfit his followers and build a keep. Like old school D&D, at a certain point, your character kind of like retired from the adventuring life because they were supposed to have enough money to start their own little castle somewheres, and then they became like lords, and then they were doing like big battles and stuff like that. So
Interesting.
his character didn't have really enough money to be able to keep the keep going, so he's like, you know who's got money? Bandits. Alright, let's make a fake caravan, go around, and take the money from all the bandits.
What you gotta do?
That was a great idea. Next article is Knights Honor and Chivalry in any D&D game. This is almost 22 pages of how to do a knight-centered D&D adventure. The core of which is the Code of Chivalry. It talks about how knight campaigns focus more on magical weapons and armor, and divine magic over scrolls and arcane spells. There's character archetypes such as squires, heralds, smiths, priests. So it's like not everybody in the campaign has to be the knight. You can also, this is the classes how you could build a class to be a support character for it.
Yeah.
It has the rules and examples for being able to do knightly tournaments. So you get like the jousting matches, you get the sword fights.
So you mean like tournaments involving knights, not like every night?
Right, it's like...
Knight with a K.
Knight with a K.
Not knight with an N.
Right. So knightly tournaments. So you know, like in the...
I'm just making sure.
You've seen A Knight's Tale.
No.
You haven't seen it. Sam, if you're watching, what the heck? You haven't shown her Knight's Tale. It's like, seriously, this...
Okay.
No, it ties in, because these 22 pages is how to do a Knight's Tale as your D&D campaign.
Okay. We'll watch it.
We'll watch it. But yeah, knight tournaments, you have the jousting, which is when they're on the horsies, and they ride against each other, and the lances.
I know what it is, yeah.
And then they also have like the sword and shield fights and archery contests, all sorts of stuff. Alright, the next article is the Bestiary. It's the monthly column of new monsters. Standouts, and this one is all about like some really interesting like horsies. But of course these are monster horsies.
Monster horsies?
Yeah, one of them is, well, one of them is a monster horsey. The Blood Horse, it's a black horse with bat wings and vampire teeth.
Ooh,
it's like a very evil version of like a Pegasus.
I know what I need that.
And the other monster that was shown in here was that stood out to me was tree trolls. They're like, if you take a troll and a monkey and put them together. So they're like monkeys, they can like regrow lost limbs that charge tolls to go through to go under their canopy.
Creepy.
Yeah. The next article is Bazaar of the Bazaar, monthly new magical item column. This month focusing on the creations of a toy making wizard named Pantagilio. So we get a bottomless toy box, toy pony that grows into the size of, it turns into a real pony, a clockwork cat, a dollhouse
cat?
Yeah, a clockwork cat. It's a little wind-up cat. A dollhouse that people can enter. So it was like designed as like whenever anybody came wanting to like see the toy maker and get new magical toys created, the kids could actually go into the dollhouse and play in the dollhouse.
So is it like a life-size dollhouse?
It's the dollhouse, but when you open the door and say the magic word, you go shrunken down to the size to be able to fit. You get to go around and play inside the dollhouse.
That'd be cool.
Oh, that would be totally cool. And there's a few other magical toys, but those are the ones that stood out to me. I actually remember when I read that Bazaar of the Bazaar, I actually came up with an adventure where basically you're hired by a kid to rescue the princess, which is actually a dolly, and you get shrunken down and put in, like you think you're going into the dungeon, but the dungeon is actually just a toy dungeon, and the coins that you find in there are actually like chocolate. They're wrapped in foil. It was like this really like interesting like, ha ha ha! You just got played by a kid, and and the kid had fun. Are you really gonna harm the kid for doing this to you? No, you're not. You're good people. That was a really cool adventure idea I had.
Cool.
Feats of personality. It's an article talking about how feats can be used to shape a character's personality.
Like feats of.
So feats.
Not like feet.
So you had skills and feats were like how you tracked abilities in 3rd edition D&D. Feat would be like you get a specific bonus to doing it. You could like unlock a special action you've really trained in being able to do something, or you have an innate talent for certain skills. Mm-hmm. The skills were just like what you would roll to do something.
Okay. So it's nothing to do with like your feet.
Right. Okay. So this is basically looking at the skills and abilities that your character has in order to be like, how would I like how, and it gave you like this is a list of feats, and this is like a list of like personality attributes. Like if you had blind fighting, you'd be like more aware. You'd be like somebody who's really aware of things around you. Mm-hmm. If you got like the ability to do a whirlwind attack, you might be a little bit of a sadist where you like to just cause mischief. If you got 2-weapon fighting, if you can fight with 2 weapons, you might be a bit of a show off, that kind of thing. And I thought that was really kind of cool to use these keywords matched with the feats to kind of get you thinking, oh yeah, my character's got the improved initiative, so it's the whole thing of like, I'm always quick to act. I mean, I might be a little impulsive, or I'm always just jumping into everything first. And I was like, yeah, that's a good way to look at it. Something to sit down with your players and be like, okay, you've got these kind of abilities. Usually these kind of abilities relate to these kind of personality quirks. Take it or leave it. Some character building. Blessing of War is the arcane lore column. This month we have 18 new paladin spells, which are kind of meh because it's mostly ways to improve your mount and a lot of defensive spells. It's not really a lot of like cool combat type stuff. It's just kind of like, protect my horsey, protect me. kind of thing.
That's needed too.
And
Just kind of boring.
it is for me because in my campaigns, I've never done a lot with mounted combat because, yeah, second edition, if you got a good running start at somebody, you can really make them go splat. So the whole thing is we did a lot of dungeon delving because everybody's like, oh, I don't want to have to deal with that. We had a lot of lazy teenage DMs and they want to have to deal with mounted combat and tracking like horses, and because it also was a little bit more complex. You got a lot of bonuses for it, but it also made the game more complex. Lazy teenagers don't want to do complex. We just want to fight monsters in dungeons and move along.
Right.
So to me, it's kind of meh. But if you're doing your night campaign, you kind of want to be able to do some stuff where you're like, oh yeah, I'll make my steed a little bit better. Give myself some cool defenses about if this happens. So, just to me, it was me. Guild Secrets, a column this month talking about the Grey Order. Basically, they go and talk about different adventuring guilds each month. The Grey Order is a guild of lawful neutral NPCs, which are non-player characters, seeking to end the eternal war between good and evil. So it's fallen celestials, fallen angels, and risen fiends. So like good demons, and not so good like Crowley and Azazafel from Good Omens. Yeah, imagine if Crowley and Azazafel were basically in charge of an adventuring guild, and they're just like doing enough stuff to keep the balance between good and evil. And they've got like an army of people working for them.
I could say that.
Like, just going out and they're just like, minor mischief, minor good things. Just make it all balanced and just trying to basically be like, no, stop the eternal war between good and evil and just make everything kind of just good. Next up is map and notes for a brewery called the Mountain Brewery. Basically just not really detailed maps, but it's just like some notes of like, hey, if you come across a place that's just like making some beer out in the middle of nowhere, you just want
Colorado?
Yeah, it's Moon Mountain.
Yeah.
You're up in the mountains and you stumble across a bunch of dwarves brewing some beer. Good little place.
Colorado.
Just a good place to do a little rest over for the night. Maybe if you're doing some other like spooky stuff, it's the old abandoned brewery and there's some ghosts and stuff going on up there. I don't know. You got the map, you got the notes.
Colorado Ghost Town.
Have some fun at Moon Mountain. Next up is the Living Greyhawk Journal for the month. This one's the 15th Living Greyhawk Journal. So we got the campaign updates, notes on the 2 Greyhawk NPCs. John Dustron, which is a male human fighter of 8th level, and Rachel Crest, a male human rogue, 18th level. There's also a listing for all artifacts in the setting and which books and magazines they can be found in. So all the different artifacts that can be found in the Greyhawk Adventure, in the Living Greyhawk Adventure. Yeah, just some notes for that. Silicon Sorcery is a column on how to port stuff from video games to D&D. This month they're talking about the Dwarven Thane, which is an expert Dwarven fighter from Warcraft 3, and the Orc Blade Master from the same game. I believe both of those ended up making it into other source material, because Dwarven Thane, I think that ended up being in like their version of like Sword and is like their Sword and Masters of Sword and Fist. It was like part of that series of books that focused on like 3 specific classes, and that was like the martial classes.
Okay.
Next after that is the Sage Advice, which is a monthly frequently asked questions column. Yeah, nothing stood out in this issue. The ruling on Stoneskin does stand out. With how if a target takes normal and subdual damage at the same time, the damage reduction will only apply to the normal damage first. which was something we kind of like didn't really get all that good in when we played 3rd edition in college, because we used to apply damage reduction. Like, we never really did subdual damage, and whenever we did, we always kind of looked at it as being like kind of like meh, because subdual damage is like damage that you deal that's non-lethal, and if you deal enough subdual damage to something.
Does this go along with like being like lazy?
Yeah.
College.
Well, no, it's because we always looked at subdual damage as being like really weak. But the rulings of like, but actually seeing the ruling is like, no, you apply normal damage, then you apply the subdual damage. I'm like, oh yeah, because that way, it's the damage reduction is going to soak up the actual lethal damage and let like the non-lethal damage go through after that. So I'm like, okay.
Okay. So those are your articles.
Yeah, those are the articles.
Which of those are you going to be keeping?
Well, I think I really do, because I know it would probably be something that would get you into a D&D game. The Grey Order, the Crowley and Azazafel run adventuring guild.
I like Crowley.
I think that the Moon Mountain Brewery, definitely. And I do want to run a Knight's Tale type themed campaigns. There's a few campaign, like it seems on par with when we reviewed Complete Warrior for 2nd edition D&D, the idea I wanted to do of a wrestling campaign where you have the wrestler and then the support crew. I want to run a few more campaigns like that, where it's like clearly you have the star of the show, the person who's doing all the big action stuff, but then you have like their support cast, their entourage that's following them around, helping them to actually be able to shine as bright as they do.
Yeah.
I think that would make for a really good story idea to play out and watch those dynamics like develop as you progress through a series of events and try to actually get to be like, the best knight in the world kind of thing. It'd be kind of cool.
Okay. Sounds good. Well, those are my questions.
Those are all my questions. I think...
You have a question for them?
I want those of you that do partake of frosty, cold, refreshing beverages from the Moon Mountain Brewery, I need like... They gave me the map, they gave me the notes, but they didn't give me like, oh yeah, we got this IPA and this stout. Like, give me some cool D&D beer names. Leave those in the comment section down below, and yeah, help me out. Help me find out what's being served at the local tavern in my next D&D game. What do we got on tap, everybody?
Okay.
All right, we'll see you next week.
Bye, everybody.
Peace.
Hey, everybody. Thanks for staying till the end of the episode. Remember to like, share, subscribe. Follow us on Facebook at Board Barista Productions. And if you want to support us, Patreon link at the bottom.